Hey everyone, welcome to a Grandmaster support guide to Cloak and Dagger. In this guide we'll be going over everything you want to know, including everything you didn't know you want to know. So let's go ahead and get right into it. First off, I want to break down her abilities and go over what each one does, right down to the numbers. In Dagger's stance, aka the light stance, we have nothing but healing and buffing abilities. Dagger's bubble is pretty much an AoE heal. You want to use this whenever your team is grouping up or if someone is just taking a ton of extra damage. Dagger's third ability, Veil of Light Force, is pretty much a frontwards projection of healing with an added on bonus. You use this to heal all allies in front of you, but the kicker is it also increases the healing dealt to them by 15%. So both you and your other healers are actually getting insane value from you using this ability. Given this, a good combo is to use this ability first if you can, and then bubble afterwards to increase the healing from your bubble and get the overall maximum value from the healing in your kit. One thing to also keep note of is that Dagger's autos alone don't heal for all that much. In fact, each auto only heals for around 30 HP, as opposed to say someone like Luna, who heals for around 60 HP in auto burst. However, one cool thing about Dagger's autos is that they heal in an AoE. So the person getting hit by the heal heals for 10 directly, plus an additional 20 in an AoE field that other allies can take advantage of. So she can essentially heal multiple allies with her autos at once. But her healing is still going to be less, so you want to make up for some of that lack of healing with her abilities. In fact, I would say she's more ability driven than most other supports, so you want to make sure you're integrating her abilities well with her autos. Okay, now let's swap on over to Cloak's stance. Cloak also has two abilities, one of which is very similar to Dagger's Veil of Light Force ability. This one is called Terror Cape and it shoots out the same as its counterpart, but instead of healing it does damage. It also blinds the enemy for 1.5 seconds, but the big thing is it increases their vulnerability by 20%. This pretty much means that they take 20% more damage from all sources for the duration. Given everything this ability does, hitting multiple enemies with it can easily sway the fight in your direction. Cloak's other ability, Dark Teleportation, enshrouds you and all nearby allies, making you invisible and untargetable for 2 seconds. You also get a movement speed boost with this ability, making it a really good mobility tool for when you get dove, and it can even immune damage. You want to use this ability to reposition yourself or negate damage from a massive ult.
Maximum pulse!
Oh, I made it, let's go! Finally, we have Cloak and Dagger's ult, Eternal Bond. This ult lets you dash 3 separate times in any direction you choose, leaving behind a path of healing and damage. This is a very potent ult, and any ally standing in the path is borderline unkillable. I recommend using this ult to push a path forward if your team is stuck in a trap, especially in tight corridor places. Because aside from the healing, it's a zoning tool which prevents enemies from standing in the path since they take damage. So using it to start a push or defending an objective coming under siege are all good cases for it. Also, one cool thing to note is that it costs less energy than Luna's or Mantis' ult, meaning that typically you can get up a little bit quicker than they can. This is really important because if you get your ult first, your team has that initial advantage which can lead to you taking the point. Now let's go over some tips and some cool tricks you can do with Cloak and Dagger. The first is reload canceling. Now, what do I mean by this? Well, in the middle of a fight, sometimes there's just so much going on and you don't want to spend that time reloading. So what you want to do when you're at your auto limit is stance switch to Cloak and use this Terror capability, then switch back. Whenever you stance switch with Cloak and Dagger, it will automatically replenish her auto attacks. The reason why I like throwing my Terror Cape in there is because it helps me minimize any downtime in between stance switching, so I'm always doing something. The next trick is climbing with your Dark Teleportation ability. When you use it, just hold down on your jump key and you'll float upwards during the duration of the ability. This can help you get to high spots you otherwise normally won't be able to reach, and it makes it so you're more evasive. Now, using that same ability, a neat thing you can do is speed boost your allies at a base with it. It doesn't really add up to much, but it's something you can do to help give your team the extra edge. It's kind of like using your rocket res beacon while you're in spawn room to help give everybody that armor pack, that extra 25% HP. It's not really going to add up to much, but again, it's just something that helps out at the very beginning of the fight.
30 seconds before you attack. Get ready.
Yo, you guys better pick up these armor packs. One cool thing about Dagger's auto attacks is that they heat seek, so you pretty much can't miss them. This makes it much easier to hit allies with smaller hitboxes, especially those in the air. I would prioritize healing flying damage dealers like Iron Man or Star-Lord whenever they need it and let your other healer heal the tanks during that time, because you're way more likely to get the heals off on them than your ally is. But that's not the only cool thing about Dagger's autos. You can also bounce them off walls, and if allies are close enough, they'll actually target those allies. So you can actually heal allies around corners or in hard to reach places if you bounce your autos off the wall in their direction. But that's not all. Because your autos are AoE, you can actually also heal yourself with them if you're hitting an ally that's right in front of you. So if you're getting pressured, going up to an ally and stuffing him with your auto attacks is actually not a bad idea because you're also going to be healing yourself as well. Another tip is whenever you find yourself solo fighting, throw bubble on yourself, then stand switch to Cloak and fight inside of it. This way you're getting your damage off while healing yourself at the same exact time. Earlier I mentioned pushing with Cloak and Dagger's ult, but you can also run it in the same place if you need to, or if you think it's more effective in that area. Each ult line will last for about 5 seconds from being casted, so our ult lasts for 15 seconds total, but what's cool is that the ult lines also stack, which means that the healing stacks, so you can actually overlap them if you need to for insane healing and damage in one spot. So you're essentially increasing potency at the cost of area. She also has a great team up with Moon Knight, granting him an invisible ability while he's casting. Lastly, I want to go over what I think are the best times to pick Cloak and Dagger, as well as her best maps. As I mentioned before, Cloak and Dagger is very good in more narrow areas, and she's very good on objectives, especially in domination. However, her capabilities in Convoy are also very high, especially on maps such as Clintar, Yggdrasil, and Spider Island, specifically during the initial and ending Convoy pushes. The reason why is because the pushes on these maps are very narrow, and this is where Cloak and Dagger ult shines. As I mentioned before, it's a zoning tool. Unlike Luna's or Mantis' ult, Cloak and Dagger's ult allows you to push enemies off of the objective because it's not just healing, but it's also doing damage. This is pretty much a free push forward for the duration, assuming the enemy support isn't ulting as well. So I would try to save her ult for after or before the enemy support ults, unless you really need to use it for help in the team fight. And of course, she's also very good in domination because you can stand in your ult while defending or attacking the point. But to be honest, she doesn't really have any advantage that other healers don't already have. However, assuming you and your allies are maximizing her ult, it will outlast other support ults. But guys, that's going to be it. That's going to be the video. I want to thank you so much for watching. I really hope this guide helped you out. Cloak and Dagger really is one of the most fun supports in the game. She's very versatile. She heals a ton. She has great survivability, and she deals a ton of damage. But just remember that you're a support, and your number one priority is to heal and support your allies. So make sure you use those ults to allow your allies to get into fights. All of your healing is AoE, including her auto attacks. So again, pick her in more narrow areas that forces your team to group up because you're going to be able to farm a lot of healing and energy for your ult. But that's going to be all. Until the next video, see ya!